forum, and when the Pakistani ambassador was there, and at lunchtime, a venture capitalist, he was a CFO for a venture capital company, sat next to me for lunch and asked me, hey Dr. Errol, what do you do? So I said, I have a catchphrase. I simply say, I help people make better, defensible decisions. So his question was, the first question was, why defensible? So I said, every decision you make, you have to move it upstairs and defend it. So any decision you cannot defend has no value. Yes or no? So that's my trust. I guarantee you that a decision taken from our methodology, your boss will never counter. But he will counter your assumptions that I can't control. But the process, no. Then he asked me an interesting question. He said, do you do data-driven decision making? So it's very subtle when somebody asks me a question like that. He's about my age kind of guy. I said, Lloyd, I hope you don't mind if I kind of clarify this a little in detail. He said, sure, sure. I said, there are two types of decisions that are going around here. If a machine makes decisions for machines or humans, it is data-driven. Machines have no feelings. Refineries operate, nuclear power plants operate, it's all done based on data, autonomous cars, etc. But then on the other side, there is feelings-driven decisions supported by data. Right? That's where we humans inject our feelings. So there is a place always for AI-driven decision making, provided you can rely on the data. But anytime your feelings come into play, AI has no place, at least not now. They are working right now. Google is working actually with cameras, interestingly enough, that they actually watch a passenger's face, look to see whether he's looking this way or that way, to try to guess, estimate whatever it is. So in terms of AI, it is fantastic. There's a huge place for it, as long as, up to now at least, they are unable to incorporate your feelings. When I said that, somebody else across the table looked and said, I'm not quite sure if I agree with you. So I said, okay, let me explain this further. So here's what I said. Imagine I am driving my Tesla, which is an autonomous car, on a mountain road. There's a hill on this side, there's a big drop on this side, and as I'm driving, there's a truck behind me wanting to overtake. I can't find a spot, he's pretty close to me. A grandma with a little baby is on the side waiting for a bus. My mother and my baby is in the back of the car. A ball flows out and the little girl crosses the road. What do I do? So I said, I have the following options. I can jam my brakes. The truck hits and kills my mother and my little daughter. I run across, kill the little girl. I turn right, I kill the old grandma. I turn left, I go down the hill. I said, what decision does the car make? I have no idea. The car requires historical data to predict what's going on. He might make a decision, but maybe I had already lost one baby in a surgical condition somewhere. I'm influenced by that. Or maybe my old grandmother died in a car accident. I'm not willing to kill her. There are many variations that impact my decision because it's a function of my state of mind, everything. The car knows nothing about it. I said, the car will make, I trust my Tesla big time. I can sleep in that car and it will go. Guaranteed it will not meet an accident. But not always. There's always, when feelings are involved, something goes wrong. So I just want to tell you, I am a proponent of AI, I'm a proponent of virtual reality, augmented reality, all of that, but it's got its limits, okay? Alright, so let's assume, now we're getting into some of the real stuff here. One of you just won the green card lottery to go to the USA. And boy, you're so happy, you have to find a place to live. And you call me up and say, Dr. Errol, can you help us? We don't know anybody in the US. And I said, sure, let's do something for you. So I ask you, what do you like about? What are your criteria? Do you like to live in a hot place, a cold place? Do you have money to buy a house? Are you worried about crime? Are you worried about pollution? Yeah. Would you like to live close to other Indian families? Yeah. What about, do you have, your wife needs some hospital treatment frequently? Yeah. Are these fair criteria then? There may be difference, but by and large, this is the type of thing that drives a decision. Yes or no?
Yes.
So I go on the internet and I find 7 cities. I've changed the names for Americans, but these are real cities. Atlanta, Raleigh, Phoenix, Jacksonville, Seattle, Orlando, and El Paso. These are real cities, real data. Now can you make a common sense decision about where you want to live? Oh, no, sir, too much information. I mean, really not that too much information. It's because you have not been trained to handle big data and big information. You can't go to your boss and say, sir, I couldn't decide because there's too much information. He will accept when you say, I don't have information. But hell no about too much information. So this could be selecting a supplier. Same concept, same criteria, same hiring an employee, locating a branch office. I know a lot of procurement people. Ladies and gentlemen, this applies. But you're going to have a tough time convincing your supply chain manager that this stuff works. Because he's got his own brain somewhere that refuses to accept anything. We have developed a 7-step approach that is step by step that will deal with this problem. Step 1, clearly define your objective. Now you're going to say, well, that's obvious. Let me tell you, that's where you have more problems than you really want to. I can prove to you, we have a whole module in our workshop about objective setting because of that. Because you get it wrong there, everything else is wrong. Identify all relevant criteria, which are many. We conduct a criteria segregation. We identify all available candidates. We get all the data into the form of a judgment table like the laptop or one of those things that you saw. You assign criteria weights and you finally rank candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, you will see the letters AHP next to steps 3, 6 and 7. That stands for the Analytic hierarchy process. That's a well-established process, and if you want to know about it, you can Google it. At the last conference, 90 papers were presented and 19 countries participated. So it's a well-established thing. It has been used in many, many areas. If anybody wants to know details, send me an email, I'll provide it for you. Even the US government in 2005 wanted to shut down the military bases, and every senator protested. So they hired a consulting company who used HP to make the decision. Risk analysis, you do it, it's there. Now I have a video that actually shows how the HP concept starts. So pay attention.
So let me explain the AHP technique. All decisions are based upon some form of comparison. We cannot look at this picture and say, this person is tall or short. But when we compare him to another person, we see that he is short.
No.
As you can see, all decisions are relative, not absolute. Imagine you're at an airport and you're watching and 2 pictures are presented. And you've asked to distribute 100 points among these ladies. 60-40, 30-70, whatever it is. Difficult? Probably not. Now we're shown 4 pictures, and again asked to distribute 100 points. Difficult? Probably a bit more. This time 7 pictures are presented. This time it requires much more effort. You're probably ready to give up. Let's get back to the pair. Would you say that the pair was easiest to handle? Obviously. Would you also agree that as the number of contestants increased, it became increasingly more difficult to make a reliable judgment? Let's take a look at a problem in the real world. Your manager wants to promote you, but wants you to find a replacement. So you start with a set of criteria. Here we have 37 criteria, and you are asked to select those that are applicable to your particular job. You might select 10, 15, whatever the number is. Now imagine 7 candidates are presented as. Now in the previous example where I presented pictures of 7 ladies, I only showed you the face. I did not show the body, the walk, the talk, the swimsuits, nothing. And even when you dealt with one single criterion, that of facial beauty, you had difficulty deciding between the 7 ladies. How do you think you would handle 10 or 15 criteria? Almost impossible. Additionally, there are multiple decision makers. How would you make a defensible decision? This is a 3D problem with multiple criteria, multiple candidates, and multiple decision makers. Most certainly beyond common sense decision making. Imagine you are selecting compressors and you are faced with 13 criteria and 7 candidates and 4 departments. This would be a nightmare for common sense decision making. Hopefully by now you are convinced that without a robust technique, you are likely to make some serious mistakes.
So, would you say that when you move from 2 girls to 4 girls to 7 girls, your judgment of assigning points became difficult?
Yes.
Were you happy with 2? Once when I presented this at a US company, or someplace, I forget, years back, one guy said, "Which airport, please?" So, the catch is, you guys are violating this theory continuously because you're looking at multiple suppliers, multiple vendors, and trying to look at all of them at one point and put some numbers, not even knowing if this is possible. So we're going to show you a better method, right? Hang in there. So the AHP method itself is very complex. It uses eigenmathematics, but we don't have to worry about it. How does it work? Here's how it works. Very important. We take any 2. So let's say you are looking at buying a house, and follow me carefully here. Let's see if I can work this out. Can you hear me? Yeah. So follow me very carefully. You're going to buy a house, and you are going to think of 5 criteria. Price, resale value, distance to work, crime, and pollution. Fair? Now, what we are going to tell you is don't rush too much. Let's simply take any 2 of them. The price and distance to work. And then we're going to look at the dominance of this, meaning which one do you like more or which one is likely to happen more. So dominance means importance, preference or likelihood. So if it is price and distance to work, we'll ask you based on that which is how much more are you concerned about price compared to distance to work? So you say moderately more important to me, or absolutely more important, doesn't matter what, but we are asking you an opinion for just 2 things. To explain this better, let's say you come home to my place for dinner, and then after dinner I say, hey, I've got cake and fruit salads as an option, which one do you like more? And you say, wow, I love cake. So then I ask, how much more do you like cake compared to fruit salad? And you say moderately, based on this scale. And here's the message, and this is proven at PhD levels by many students who have done this thing. Every complex problem, however complex, breaks down to these 2 simple questions. Which one? How much? So our software is feelings driven because it's extracting your feelings into the model. Without your feelings, I can't make a decision. Model is a high powered calculator. But all we ask is, how do you feel about this and that? So in the case of the house, we'll say between price and resale value, which one is more important, how much is it? Then price and distance to work, which one is more important? Then price and crime, which is more important? Price and pollution, then we take A, B, A, C, A, D, A, B, C, B, C. And the model just goes through it. You just say, little arrow, you move it up and down, and that's all you say. And the boy, it really gets it. So let me now run the video running the software.
Multi-criteria decision making using the analytic hierarchy process. Most of the decisions we make in the real world are multi-criteria in nature. Typical examples would be procurement, recruiting, local branch offices, etc. The best way to explain this is to consider a hotel chain hiring a business development manager. They identify 6 criteria and 4 candidates. Let us now look at the AHP software that we have developed. I have set up the recruiting problem, and when I hit continue, we have the criteria and the candidates that I have already inserted. We move on to the judgment table. The criteria judgment provides pairwise comparison. All you have to do is remember two simple questions. Which one? How much? So the first question is between availability and leadership. Which one is important to us? Availability. Then between availability and salary, you might say salary. You proceed with this, and when you finish, you simply say, okay, and you hit continue. Now you are presented the candidate judgment, which is identical with the previous case. On this occasion, you're offered one criteria with multiple candidates. Once again, we answer the two questions. Which one? How much? To say which candidate is more important than the other one, and to what degree. We do this for each criterion. When you finish, press OK, and we are presented the criteria weights and the candidate rankings. Once we complete the evaluation, we generate a graph using the chart maker. We see that the optimal decision is Mary. Additionally, we have 6 bands. This is known as the N-1 evaluation. Here we have removed availability. Here we have removed leadership. And here we have removed salary, etc. And if salary is not an issue, Sue is a far better. Could you have made better defensible decisions relying on common sense alone? Probably not.
So, what is important is this chart. Sorry. Can you hear me? No, it's not working. But let me use that. Don't worry. I can solve it out.
What happened there was quite interesting. You used the pairwise technique, you ran through the model produced you an output which is the optimum. And then with one button, you can generate this graph. And this graph is not what you first think of. And I want you to follow my words very carefully. Can you hear me? What it says is, you decided to hire Mary, and you went with this chart or with the result to your boss. And the boss says, hey Joe, all right, you want Mary, but if I'm willing to pay whatever it takes, is Mary still your recommendation? That chart, number 3 band, is the evaluation without salary. So, thank you madam for asking the question, answering that. What it is, and here's the words, our model analyzes the sensitivity of your decision to the original assumptions. I'm repeating that. Any manager, because we have to start with some assumptions, right? What we have to do afterwards is look back and ask, how sensitive is this decision to these assumptions? So let's say I'm looking for my daughter-in-law, and I had said dowry was very important. I run the model, but I'm a millionaire, let's say. I look at that child and say, you know something, we have all the money in the world. We can do without money. There's a better girl. Every time you have to ask that question, what is the sensitivity of your decision to the original assumptions? That is why I call it better defensible decisions that have been validated. That is why I said at the beginning, nobody's going to threaten you when you go to the top with this kind of decisions, because you've looked at it all. Did you understand that? Yes, sir.
How can we find whether we missed any particular criteria? We don't have all the knowledge.
That's unfortunately your problem. Sorry. I keep telling people, okay, his question, I'll repeat the question. No. His question was, how do I know whether I asked the true question? In other words, if I got the criteria that are relevant, there is no way. In the main class, we teach a little bit more about that. What you do is, you bring in people who are not associated with the project, nor the topic, because you're wearing blinders. When I was at Imperial Chemical Industries, when we have brainstorming sessions, we even bring the security guard and the secretary. Because brainstorming means come up with every crazy idea. We know how to sort it out, but we can't be creative because we are locked up. I remember when I was working in the Middle East, we ran a project, very interesting project, you engineers will love it. How to increase the water supply in the Middle East.
people came up with crazy ideas. Planting tall trees, cloud seeding. One was float an iceberg from the South Pole. I'm serious. But you know something? In spite of all the gestures, that became the best number 2 option. Even if you float it from the South Pole, there is still enough water to fill up. But you know the winning one? Very creative. You see the Middle East, Abu Dhabi and Qatar and places, they send oil to Japan. We decided to put liners in the tankers, and once we deliver it, we remove the liners and put water and bring back the empty ships with water. That was the final solution. So otherwise, there was so we don't want to laugh at people coming up with crazy ideas. That's what we want. We want stupid ideas. I remember we were chilling an ethylene plant, because ethylene, when it cools, it interferes with the heat transfer because it deposits along the inside of the pipe. Some people were saying, drop a bucket of ice on it. We never laughed at it, because every idea is it merits investigation. Okay? Any questions?
This looks like the decision tree, what your analysis is saying.
Sorry?
This parameter, this graph, no. This is somewhat another kind of, what we call the decision tree. Already.
There are other techniques, I'm not disputing it. But we, yeah, see, the problem we have is, we want to be consistent in the way we present. And that's why I give my tools free. All our software is given to you free of charge, because we know exactly what's going on in the software, we understand, and the next software is absolutely mind-blowing. I will show you. Yeah. Okay.
One question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, in the real world, in real world situations, sometimes time is of essence. We have to make quick decisions. And in the interest of time, some snap decisions are made, even though, as you say, they are deep impacting decisions. So this I have faced sometimes, like decisions are expected to be taken quickly. So do we have time for this kind of analysis, and how to analyze?
Okay, the first thing is, and I'm going to use the phrasing, and please listen to me very carefully, because if you don't understand, I will repeat it. Number 1, irrespective and independent of how much information you have, or how good or bad your information is, our models will give you a better decision than you can ever make using pure common sense, number 1. And number 2, don't penalize this method for your data gathering stuff, because data gathering is integral whether you do your brain or use the model. So if you can separate it, this model won't take you half an hour. Now my answer to your question, if the impact is serious enough, are you willing to put a half an hour more to run our models? Just half an hour. If it's not important, don't run it. Do I want to drink tea or coffee? To hell with it. I don't want to run a model over it. So, too often I always say, important decisions, if they're not taken in time, they become urgent decisions. That's why things become urgent. They sit on it. It never was, unless it's an explosion or something like that, that's a different thing. Even in the case of an explosion, let's say a refinery exploded, a gas plant exploded. If you have 5 options, you can take 15 minutes to put this through this model, because your feelings are so biased, the DNA is screwed up. Take 15 minutes. It will give you a better. We're not telling you to accept our solution. Our job is a management tool to tell you this is what we think should be done. Now you want to throw it out, it's okay. But at least you should know what's at stake. Okay? Now, this is where the fun part starts. We just did what is called multi-criteria decisions. I had a set of criteria and a set of candidates, yes? Now we're doing a very interesting thing, which is uncertainties. You see, we live in a domain of uncertainties. right? Every decision is an uncertain world. So let's say you have a brother who has a small business, and Indian Oil Corporation gave him a contract to supply some minerals to the IOC. But when you looked at it, there are only 3 countries in the world, in West Africa, Angola, Congo and Liberia, that has this stuff. Well, you say, well, I don't know anything about it. But when you check out, like diamonds, availability, price and air freight are all equal. The only thing is you can't buy from 3 places because you don't get a volume discount. You are forced to buy from one place. You call up the Indian embassy there and ask, hey guys, I want to do business with the West African countries, and what do you think? They say, oh, don't you touch it. Those are hell countries to work with. Avoid it, please. But you have no choice. That's the only place. How do you make a decision out of it? It doesn't matter. I said everything is? Huh? Everything is equal, right? So what do you do? Throw a dart, which doesn't matter. But what if I were to give you some information? If I were to tell you the likelihood of these events happening, that is called event probability. So here's some information. 25% chance there are riots in Congo, 30% chance of a coup, and 35% chance of a new government in Liberia. Can you now make a common sense decision with this information, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, where?
Liberia.
Liberia.
Yeah.
Why, sir?
Because riots in any case are going to disrupt the situation. Coup will again lead to instability. It may not be a good one. But new government, the likelihood of bringing in the change from whatever is there is.
Do you guys vote with him? Huh?
Some extent.
What?
Because the new government may stop taking minerals from that area.
Congo.
But why are you, with all your, why are you assuming all these things?
Yeah,
I only gave you information.
that's right.
After that, you might think new government is in favor. She says, no, it's not in favor. Now you are 2 directors of the company. You are sitting and arguing. Oh, I mean, not nice way. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can't just assume stuff. Huh? You need more information. And let's go to new information. You want to know how is this going to impact you? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about north, south, here and there. Let's just assume we are here and that is north and this is south, just for fun. Suddenly all your text messages say that there has been an explosion on the roadside in the north and all roads have been blocked to trap the crook or whatever it is. But madam, you live in the south. Do you really care about what happened? The event had no impact on you. What is important is the impact on you. Until you know the impact, you can't decide. Yes or no? Yes. Alright, so now I'm going to give you impact probability. So, Congo riots, there's a 20% chance, 0 impact. 30%, 50% chance we lose 30% of our contract, etc. Now I've given you some impact. I'm also going to give you the other 2. Ladies and gentlemen, now you have 21 data points. Christ. Can you make it? No, sir, too much information. Please don't give me so much. You can't be doing this stuff. But this is how decisions are made. You're looking at the data and looking at what you can do. So, to re-stress on this theory of impact probability and event probability, let's take a car crash and a plane crash. So today when you're on your way home, touch wood nothing, but is there a 10% probability somebody is going to hit you from behind? Huh?
Possible.
Of course. I'm just not saying it's going to happen, but is there a 10% chance somebody will hit you?
Yeah.
And is there a 50% chance that the car will be damaged a little bit?
Yeah.
Just a number. I don't care if it's 30%. And maybe a small percentage you will also be injured. No, madam, miss. You must have Krishna on your head or something. She's like, so. Your energy says, no way. Okay. So, what about a plane crash? The event probability of a plane crashing is what? 0.00001, right? But what about the impact, ladies and gentlemen? Christ. So, the message is, we are dealing with uncertainties. And when we deal with uncertainties, we better be aware of EP and IP. So, I don't have a lot of books. I only about 40 books here. So if you are thinking of one, make sure you keep an eye on it. Now, let's test this with your real world. I got some interesting things. You work for a nice big company and you currently earn $70,000, forget the numbers. And you know that your boss has been talking to you privately know that there is a 50% chance that you might be promoted, and if you are promoted, you will get $85,000. But there's another department in the same company that likes you very much. They over lunch, that boss says, hey Joe, why do you want to stay there? Why don't you come to us? We'll give you $75,000. And if the boss leaves and you get promoted, you got to go 100,000, buddy. Now you have to decide what to do. Stay where you are. And this is the only information you have. You don't know about the boss's nature. It's not important. Everything is cool. How do you tell your wife or husband what decision you make? Whether you accept or do not accept, you have to explain to your partner in life why you said yes or no. So, how many of you would accept the offer, new offer? Hands up to see. Think a little bit, don't rush. I contaminate you anyway, but just you'll accept. Now, can you explain to your husband?
Sure, because there is a 5% increase with the new change. Whether I've been promoted or the boss is leaving, doesn't matter. At least I'm getting a 5 extra every month.
Okay.
So that
No. You will not get, I mean the other one, you will get 5.
Existing job will be 70K and the job which is offering will be 75K. So at least the 5K extra I will be getting, so that way I can
Yeah,
convince.
you don't care about the 85. Okay, good point. She takes the money out on the table. Okay, who are the ones who would not accept it? Hey, you can't sit in the middle. You either accept or you can't. We have all these men on the fence. So why would you?
Because existing job, I know what is the nature of the job, what I am doing, what is my company, those detail I have. At least the probability is more.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to assume a lot of things, right? Let me now go to the next one, stage. We'll draw a logic diagram, a simple decision tree. Our models are very powerful, but I'm just going to show you this one. So the first thing is what? You can do this, right? If you stay, you might get promoted, 50% chance, right? There's only 2 things, you don't know anything about it. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Can everybody draw something like this?
Yes.
Now, if you accept the offer, the boss could leave, 50% chance, the boss could stay. And if the boss leaves, you still have to wait for the promotion. Now, this type of problem actually can be run through our zone mapping technique. Now, I'm going to show you, but I'm going to show you a more complex problem so that we have a clear understanding of how complex works here. So pay attention and we'll ask some questions.
Single criteria decisions with multiple uncertainties using decision trees and T-zone maps. J&J Pharmaceuticals are developing a new drug for the treatment of diabetes, thrombosis, and cholesterol. However, J&J can invest only in one of these projects. The cost of pursuing these products, for the preliminary test, we would spend $2.5 million, and for the FDA approval, there would be a cost of $500,000. The marketing department has arrived at potential revenues from these projects. Here too, there are some uncertainties. There's a potential for high revenue or low revenue. For example, for cholesterol, the high revenue would be $13 million, while the low would be $7 million. Uncertainties facing J&J now. Will the preliminary test be successful? Will the FDA approve the new drugs? Will sales generate the projected revenue? The question for J&J is, which product? We can start with a 50-50 assumption for all uncertainties, and then study the impact of such assumptions on the final decision. Action plan.
First draw the DT sketch, then develop the Excel model, then plot the D-zone map, and finally study the uncertainties. Here we have the sketch for the decision tree. We have three options, and let's focus on thrombosis. If the preliminary tests are successful, then we proceed for FDA approval. And if FDA approval is granted, we proceed to market, and there is a potential for high revenue or low revenue. Similarly for the other two projects. Now to step 2, where we build the Excel decision tree, and in this case, it is for the preliminary test. Once we complete the decision tree model, with one click, we can create the D-zone map. The model creates 3 zones for the 3 decisions: thrombosis, cholesterol, and diabetes. Zone in which the red pointer lands is the recommended decision. Here we have 3 axes. One is for diabetes, the next is for cholesterol, and up here is the thrombosis. When I change the probability of success, the decision is thrombosis. If I change the probability of thrombosis success to 70%, again the recommendation is for thrombosis. What is important to notice is the distance of the pointer from these demarcation lines tells you the degree of freedom you have with regard to your assumptions. In this case, when the probability of diabetes success drops below 46%, the decision should be for thrombosis. Zone map such as this gives you tremendous flexibility to understand the sensitivity of your assumptions to the final decision. We repeat the same process for the FDA approval and the projected revenue. And we can see under all 3 scenarios, the recommended decision is to proceed with diabetes project. Could you have made better defensible decisions relying on common sense alone? Probably not.
So you see, this
stuff I developed a lot of patience and support from certain people. You will not see it anywhere else in the world. There is no way. And yet you get this entirely free. We train you how to use it, and we give you the stuff. This is the way uncertainty should be handled. We talked of EP, the event probability, and we talked about IP, the impact probability. Any questions on this one? This is a difficult one.
No? Okay. If you're comfortable, we're good. So before you we're almost at the end, but I just want you to touch something very important. Whenever you have an objective or a project to go, there are 4 questions I want you to ask. The first one is, why do it? Then, why do it now? Why was it not done before? And finally, the difficult one, why should we not do it? The last question is in red because you can't answer that question. So let's say I have a daughter who comes to me and says, Papa, I'm going to get married to this guy, I love him and all that good stuff. I will ask her these questions and she will answer the first 3 questions quite easily. When I ask her, darling, why should you not marry this guy? You think she can answer me? Because she's in love. Likewise, you guys bring up ideas and projects and they become your baby. And heaven or hell comes, you're going to support it and make a sale on that project. The reason I put this out is when President Obama was looking at killing Osama bin Laden, his national security team was split down the middle. One group said, go for him. We missed him once in Tora Bora, we're not going to let him go again. And the other group said, we have no definitive evidence, it's all circumstantial, and we have to go into some other country called Pakistan by force, it will be hell. What did Obama do? He took the documents and found 6 national security advisors who are retired, playing bridge and fishing and golfing and gardening, and gave it to them and said, you have 48 hours to tell me the number 4, why I shouldn't do it, not why I should do it. So, whatever you do, even on a personal level, when you have this kind of difficulty, always remember to ask, why should I not do it? Why should I not buy a new car? Why should I not invest in this particular house?
Because I act as a mentor for 3 CEOs in the Silicon Valley in the USA. What's my job as a mentor? Once a month I sit with them, one at a time, over lunch for 3 hours. And at that time they tell me everything. Their personal lives, their family lives, the acquisitions, they want somebody who can listen to them and pass opinion. So you all must find a mentor, every single one of you. But that mentor should not be a family member, nor a buddy. It's got to be somebody that you respect. When you do that, I assure you the value will be phenomenal. Sure, anyone can live with the consequences of a suboptimal decision. That's not the issue. But when you have to defend that decision, you can't say, I went to Tripati or something and prayed. Right? You must reinforce your decisions with common sense, with our work. So that's all for now. Thank you very much. I have contact information for Aparna, who is in India, in Chennai girl. This is my information, and these books are a few books. They're sold at half the price, just for you. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take it. Yes, sir.
How do you write the probability percentage?
Okay. If you don't have data and you just have 2 options, you put 50-50. If you have 4 options, you put 25% each. But the beauty of our system is we give you a slider. So when you go to the boss and say, boss, I assume 25%, he says, no, my buddies have told me we have a 50% chance of getting this thing right. You move the arrow, and that will tell you where the decision is. What we are doing is allowing you to study the sensitivity of the assumption. The assumption was 50% or 25%. But you can look at its influence graphically. Everything is graphical. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to disagree with one thing.
Please do.
You said you are 76 years old. No, sir, you are 76 years young.
Okay, I like you. Thank you. We're open. Now think about doing 8 hours like this. I do this sometimes 3 times a week. So I'm hoping Aparna will take over soon before I kick the bucket. Just to give you the truth, I have even paid for my funeral. It's all done. I've donated, given my organs to be donated, paid for my funeral, transferred all my assets to a trust. I live a life of detachment. I do not want anything. I do it because of learn, earn, and return.
You sir remind me very strongly of Mr. Aparesh Acharya. I don't know.
No, I never heard of him.
He is a Bangladeshi gentleman, went to US, now he lives in Bangalore, and he is a management
Consultant.
he trains, he grooms people.
There.
Lot of business owners and CEOs. Okay.
Thanks.
Coming to the
Another disagreement, but that's okay. Go for it.
Coming to the subject, the decision making is all about, you said, art and science.
No, yeah, feelings, arts and science, yeah.
And art is
The feelings.
Okay. Today, in present time, fake news is a reality and we are living with.
Yeah.
Average people, it is beyond their capacity to make a judgment whether what they are listening, they are watching, they are surrounded with is fake or real.
Absolutely true.
That is number one. Because here you are talking about the art and feeling.
Yeah.
So that creates a perception.
Okay.
And we know perception may not be, and most of the time will not be correct, wrong. So a feeling based on a perception which is likely to be a wrong, and that is, if it is 50%, half of the part of decision making, how do you justify that?
Okay, good question. Did you all understand? No?
Not so fully.
Not fully. Let me try to translate. What he's saying is, our perceptions are contaminated by fake news. Is that correct? So, if I said decision making is part art and part science, the art is our perception, That is contaminated already. So how do you get by? Valid question. I thank you for it. I have the answer, of course. Not that I have all the answers, but at least I know my business. The essence of what I am telling is I am saying to you, if you have a choice between just making a decision using your gut feel, judgment, experience, maturity, all of that, versus using a technologically supported where only half of your judgments are contaminated. So, here's the story. This is, in the technical terms, the difference between decision contamination and criteria contamination. I'm going to explain this to you now. So let's go back to, you're going to buy a house. And I'm going to my 5 criteria: price, resale value, distance to work, crime and pollution. I gave you that. So you and your spouse go around looking for houses. Wow, this one has a lovely kitchen. The neighborhood is divine. Oh, the front is so nice. And you decide that is decision contamination. It's like looking at a girl and saying, oh, she's nice, I need to date her. Criteria contamination comes when you note down all the features of these houses you see on a little table, run it in a model, and because information is fake, maybe they gave a nice paint coat covering some faults, some of those criteria might be contaminated, but not all.
Example?
Huh?
Example?
Yeah, so remember, I said resale value, price, resale value, distance to work, right? Maybe the realtor told you some fictitious data that the resale value of this house is way high. So your criteria was contaminated there. But the other 4 are right. So I'm trying to tell you, in the world of uncertainties and contamination, it is better to live with criteria contamination and reach a decision than decision contamination and screw up right from the word go. Without blindly going and saying, darling, I think this house is nicer. What do you think? The price is right. Why don't we buy this? No. Break it down. Go through the analysis. You might be wrong in some of them. But it is encouraging, allowing for criteria contamination and not decision contamination. I caution you. The thing is this, the phrase I said was, our models will give you a better decision irrespective of the quality of your data. The model is guided, because you just told me when you look at 7 girls you can't handle it, but 2 and 2 you can handle it. Our model is driven by 2 and 2. You are the one who admitted to it. Okay? Anybody else?
Who do you think, travel across a lot of places actually, when you come to a decision making or when it comes to...
Can you repeat that for the public?
Yeah, you have traveled to a lot of places across continents. So who do you think they are more agreeable in terms of coming to a decision collectively and not on a dictatorial way? Which part do you think that they are better in that?
For me, the Americans, for sure. There is no hierarchy issue. You see, in our countries, it's like the top dog says and everybody jumps. But Americans, you can't do it. I mean, I'll give you how far that goes. For example, my son and daughter, when they work there and in-laws and all that. By the way, if there are any Gujus, my daughter-in-law is Guju. So, I love it, I'm half Indian anyway. But when our daughter or son doesn't go to work one day, he doesn't or she doesn't call and tell the boss, may I have? They send a text message saying, I'm working from home today. Tells the boss, I'm staying at home today. Doesn't ask the boss. You dare not do this in this country. You have to ask permission. They still allow you. That's the cultural difference there. You are respected as an individual with a personal life, with personal problems, and they recognize you. So our hierarchical system, unfortunately, is top down. But good good companies, even a small startup, make sure you don't need a partner who's just a yes partner. You need a partner who challenges you. That is how you get the right. So you have a choice. You can screw up by being the big boss. Guaranteed, if Microsoft and Kodak and all these companies, now somebody said McDermott, if they could have gone under, your company is not as safe as they think they are. They keep thinking, no, we know what we are doing. 100-year companies are going down because they don't want to change. The message is, what got you here won't get you there. Yes, sir.
One question. Even also that decision making also influenced by the way the children are grown up. Like I am influenced by the way my dad takes decision. So
It's in your DNA, not just influence. It's not even in your brain.
Okay. How do you suggest like we should change the way we decide?
No.
Do you think?
Yeah, the important thing is, I mean, unfortunately, because of our culture, fortunately, it could be also, we have a respectful culture that we listen to the elderly. But today, I'm sure all of you who have kids, they say, but they don't listen to us now. Google is the godfather, right? For all of that, they think they Google. But no, the point is, recognize you're wired. Right? Recognize that you have a weakness, and you should ask that fourth question, why should I not do it? If you're too proud to ask that question, you're going to fall sucker. It's not a matter of age, right? So you cannot avoid it. Break it down to the criteria and let the criteria be contaminated here and there. Don't contaminate your decision. That's hell. You have a question, sir? No?
You have one question.
Yes, sir.
Now, the pay fast approaches.
What's that?
Pay fast.
Fail first.
Pay first or pay
Fail
fast.
fast, yeah.
Pay first. How that will rely on our current decision making habits, and how that will help us to make a correct decisions, something like that.
I don't really think I can answer that question. The reason for fail fast is really because you don't want to invest time, effort and resources. The sooner you fail, the less expenditure. Now Google X, for example, is the division of Google that actually looks at new projects. And they told me, I had a chance to see them, 80% of their projects are thrown out. And they spend millions testing them, but they want to fail fast. Because the sooner they say, this is not for us, the less effort they have to put in. So the culture is fail fast, that's okay. But it's just a buzzword. In the reality, you have to have data, facts to support that fail fast. I mean, why are you failing? Yes, sir.
So I have another question.
Yes, sir.
We have talked about data and as well as the feelings. What about the intentions? Is it factored into the feelings?
Feelings, yeah,
Because
intentions
why
are-
I'm asking you this question is, usually in a boardroom meeting or maybe in a department, generally the decision is taken. So every time it need not be talked about, sometimes a consensus is taken. So at that time, intentions play a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are ulterior motives,
Yeah.
right?
So has that been factored in the feelings?
No. I mean,
Okay, so
yes, of course, it's
maybe-
inevitable. You know, these guys are just, I mean, how can you? At the end of the day, it's all humans, right? And the guy with the highest pay grade can justify it any way. It's like politicians; they will justify their viewpoint. There's nothing you can do about it until you educate them. And to say that. When I teach negotiating, I always say there's a misconception in the negotiating world that the boss is a better negotiator than the guy below. Not necessarily. The guy below could be a trained negotiator. But the boss has a perception, I know how to do it. I'm going to India, or I'm going to Singapore, I'm going to Europe to negotiate for the company. But the guy is not trained. So feelings you can't avoid. I mean, it's a matter of reality of hierarchy.
How about
Bias?
Oh, huge. Biases are there. But that's what I said, the feelings. Feelings is the bias. I put out a series of biases there. Those biases are integral to every decision. You can't remove it. It's you. Until you learn to thwart it, even I am biased. I can't take my biases out. But I am fighting between decision contamination and criteria contamination. My biases will be limited to 2 or 3 criteria. Hopefully, it will get merged into the others. Yes, sir.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course, as much as you like, as many as you like.
Thank you. In Indian subcontinent, mostly the privately owned companies, those who have actually slogged from the down and made it a very big level. I know some of the companies, I have worked with one of the companies, they have really slogged it and went up. So reaching up to 80%, 90% is even, from there it is very difficult, and that is where decision comes into play. And if it is a private company, owned company, and individual decision making, and if the owner's personality is authoritarian, my way or highway,
Yeah.
in the longer run, what happens? Is there any studies done worldwide or for Indian subcontinent?
There are studies done worldwide about what you're talking about. How the startup guy controls it, right? And there are certain curves already done.
Because why I'm asking, sir, these days, as you said at the very beginning, Silicon Valley guys start up, they take it up, dump it, and go somewhere else.
Yes.
The problem is Gen X thinks in a different way and Gen Z thinks in a different way.
But what happens is, okay, in answer to your question, generally what happens with startups are, there are two types of startups. Startups, what I call self-funded startups or venture-funded. The venture capitalists, when they take it over, you lose control completely. They will decide what to do with you, right? They'll pay you well, right? Because they know that you are an impediment to the growth because you had a passion for this thing. So once it becomes commercialized, your passion doesn't play the role, it's something else. Now Elon Musk is a rare example. The guy is so brilliant, he won't let go to anybody. He's holding on to it, right? Because he knows what he's doing. So my point is, there are a lot of studies done in what you say, that every company, as it goes up, it starts flattening. Then new ideas, new management lifts it up again. Then once again, as it's flattened, new ideas, new management takes over, goes. There are several levels that go on because of this. The startup guys or the established. Now, with regard to the point you said about the so-called ingrained 80-year-old MDs who are like, they found the company, they're the chairman sitting around every morning, they come in and say, okay, what are we doing? Give them to me and I'll convert them too. No problem at all. Because most people are not in touch with this changing environment that's going on. When I lay out all the failures that's happened and ask, okay, in your intelligence, are you saying you're safe? Then he can't answer. He's smart enough to say, maybe I need to start thinking also. Nobody is safe, no product is forever. We've seen it. Hundreds of examples. Thank you for engaging. It's beautiful to talk to you guys, you know. Of course, you're like me, we are PMI guys, all of us are. Do a lot of
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, audience, for your active participation. Very interesting and thoughtful questions.